I'd made money, I'd lost money, I spent money. I had a very unhealthy relationship with money. 2 years of masters. There was not one subject or one chapter in any book called How Do I Get Rich? How do I become wealthy? How do I create generational wealth? It just wasn't there. I realized that a lot of people on social media these days, I've heard them say that, start investing straight out of college. And while that's not terrible advice, it's okay for those, because someone is sitting at 30 listening to it and like, shit, yaar, maine nahi kiya. I didn't invest when I got out of college, it's too late. Oh my God, I'm 40, I've never invested. Yeah. Oh my God. It's never too late. At 30, you have far more life experiences. You're far more valuable to the marketplace than you were at 20.
Yes.
So at 40, you're far more experienced. You're far more valuable. You have far more disposable income.
Do you think there is like a governing body or a framework around which takes care of all these things, or this is just kind of like going here, there, everywhere and just...
So the beauty about it is that there is no governing body.
Wow.
That is the magic of, or that is one of the benefits of the cryptocurrency.
Any fund that you think outside in the world is overhyped? Hello everyone, I am Chef Shivani and welcome to yet another intriguing but very interesting episode of Beyond The Boardroom. Well, as I always say, I come from the F&B background, but finance has been something which I've been wanting to learn all my life. And a lot of us really don't get good numbers in mathematics in school. So I thought, why not have someone who knows not just mathematics for others, who's supporting others through his point of view and through his knowledge, but also has taken up a leap in working on understanding personal finance. So I would love to introduce him as none other than Kartik Iyer, a CFA charter holder, seasoned investment advisor at a bank at DIFC in Dubai, and a personal finance advocate. Karthik's journey from a deep debt at 33 to a financial freedom at 37. Wow, it's definitely inspirational. He's here to share his practical wisdom on financial independence, breaking money taboos, and building true wealth. Welcome, Karthik. I am so honored, and I'm happy that finally I'm meeting someone who's going to teach me about finance.
Well, thank you so much for having me. You said a lot of things in that little introduction. I wasn't sure if you're talking about me, but I'll take it.
No. I am so thrilled because just recently I've been very intrigued about this whole, financial side. Obviously, we've been learning about finances from our childhood. Be our pocket monies, how to use our pocket money wisely. When we grow up, what we can afford in terms of, our school or, college fees, where we can holiday, what is the budget trip, what is a non-budget trip, where we have to spend. I mean, finance is there since the time you're born. Your parents had to pay bills for the hospital as well.
Absolutely.
But the way you have been going viral on social media and talking about, personal finance and financial, independence. I think that is something which is extremely, extremely important. And I find these kind of topics very relevant. So I'm very intrigued to know what has been your journey, initially to be in this whole world of finance.
As you rightly said, Shivani, the world of finance has followed us from the day we were born, and it won't leave us till our deathbed, right? And even after that, because even after we're gone, there's charges that our family will have to incur to take care of that eventuality.
Yes.
But it's the undertones behind all those childhood experiences that we've had. How our environment was, what kind of messaging was behind every time money was brought up. What was the undertone? What was the messaging that came with it?
Yeah.
And predominantly most middle class, low middle class families like the one that I come from, it was the undertone or the underlying message was always one of lack. It was never one of abundance. Right? So we always thought of save money.
Agree.
Right? Paise bachao. And when you think of saving, you're always trying to save something that you don't have enough of.
Yeah, of course. Right? Yeah, very well said.
If something were abundant in life, you wouldn't need to save it. You would enjoy it. You would spend it. You would flaunt it. You would whatever. Yeah. But we're always, at least Indians, right? Paise bachao, you said it, right? My mom would always say, save money, save money.
Absolutely.
So the whole idea of saving money is coming from a place of lack. And I think that was my internal messaging, and that's how I grew up with money. And that's how I ended up spending my entire life. And at some point you mentioned, till the age of 33, I'd made money, I'd lost money, I spent money. I had a very unhealthy relationship with money. Let's just put it that way for a very long time, because I perhaps wasn't given the direction. I wasn't given the guidance. I
Agree.
didn't have someone who taught me money. We didn't have a chapter or a subject in school.
Agree.
We had moral science, we had history.
That's a good idea, actually.
We had geography, we had economics, we had
Yes.
macroeconomics, we had microeconomics.
Yeah.
We never had, what the hell do I do with my money? Or,
Absolutely.
how do I become rich? We should have had one subject.
Oh,
12 years
wow.
we studied, 7 hours a day. I don't know how many hours that is. My math isn't that great, clearly. But in all those years, 4 years of undergrad, 2 years of masters, there was not one subject or one chapter in any book called How Do I Get Rich? How do I become wealthy? How
Wow.
do I create generational wealth? Just wasn't there. One chapter called Personal Finance? No. How hard is that? And yeah, so that's how the whole journey began. At some point when I realized I was 33, broke, unmarried, living in my mom's house, not paying rent, couldn't afford beer. And I said, man, I got to get this thing get my own house in order. And that's where this little journey began, to say, let me figure it out. And the last 4 to 5 years have been about figuring it out, and taking a few people along with me who were perhaps where I was 4 years ago. And that's pretty much what this journey has been about.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So how's this been like at the age of 33? You know, you were in some kind of a debt.
Yeah.
And at the age of 37, rightly said, because your wife told you that you've not turned 38, so don't keep saying people 38.
That's right, I'm 37. Yes.
You're 37.
Yes.
And now transforming that beautifully and becoming financially independent. And really like creating that kind of a wealth for yourself. So
Sure. So that how much wealth you create it's all relative. It's all relative to what we see around us. A lot of people can are perhaps earning as much as they didn't even think they would ever earn.
Yeah.
But you look around and you have 10 people who are earning far more than you are, and
Yeah.
suddenly so it's all relative. But yeah, financial freedom, financial independence, these are words that are thrown around. Their definition and their meaning evolves every day, and it's different for everyone. So yeah, for me, so I took a lot of chances in my life. So at the age of 22, I quit my job, decided to start my own business. So
Wow.
had made life an adventure, made a lot of mistakes. I was very naive in a lot of areas of my life. But what that meant was that in trying to sustain a lot of my businesses, I started borrowing a lot of money, started living on credit cards. Luckily, I was blessed that I had some support from my parents, in the sense that I could live in the house without paying rent. So I could take a few chances. But at 33, literally I reached a point where I had to take up a job, restart my life all over again, and start paying off that debt, and have one eye on the future, right? One eye on my investments, one eye on the fact that, oh shit, I'll have to get married someday. Who's going to marry someone who doesn't have money? Who's going to marry someone who's in so much of debt? Those were all thoughts that, again, perhaps were implanted into me by society, by my parents, but also I think it's a fair call. I wouldn't want to be with someone who's completely unstable in one area of their lives, right? Maybe, I don't know, maybe they say love trumps all, but I wanted to at least take care of my finances, so that at least that was one less problem we'd have to worry about.
outstanding. And what about these outdated notions which people are creating nowadays because of money, or people, in past? What do you think are these myths about the personal finance gains? Any myths that you feel that one shouldn't be?
So I think we spoke about one. The biggest myth, I think, is paise bachao, save money. Sorry, I don't know if we can go
No,
into
that's
Hindi.
fine.
Hindi
Yeah,
a little
yeah,
bit
of
is
course
fine.
you can.
I think in Hindi. My default setting is Hindi for some reason.
That's fine.
But yeah, paise bachao, save money, don't just save money. We've been told this so much, it's got ingrained into our minds, and I don't think we understood it, what saving money actually means. And I don't think the people who actually said this to us knew what they were talking about. I understand that my parents came from the right place.
Of course,
Their
everyone's,
heart was
yes.
in the right place.
Yes.
That, what they essentially meant was,
Yes.
don't overspend. Don't live beyond your means. Don't do a lot of things. Don't spend money in places that you don't. But let's flip that entire script around. One is to understand, in terms of saving money, that by saving money, you're actually working for a commodity that is unlimited. So if you're saving something that is unlimited, it's like going to the beach and saying, let's save the sand. Arey, bahut hai. And the more waves that come up the shore, more sand will come.
I am loving your confidence. Trust me on it. It's so like the whole energy that the way you are convincing. I am so convinced. I love this whole example of you talking about the sand. I mean, wow, amazing. Go ahead. I'm just all yours. Yeah, all yours.
So in the same way, governments have printing presses open where they can print as much money as they want. So why are we are spending our limited resource, which is time? So we have a limited resource, which is time, to acquire an unlimited resource, which is money.
Wow.
Does that
Very
make-
well said.
Does that make sense? It doesn't make sense to me. So I'd rather accumulate a limited resource and spend an unlimited resource if I had that option, right? But I think understanding of this, that I spend 12 years in school, 4 years studying, 40 years in a job, that means I've given up or spent my whole life to acquire an unlimited resource.
Agree.
And that's something that, through my content and through my conversations, what I just try and put that message out there, that start thinking about money differently. Start understanding what money is.
Right.
And that understanding will help us make better choices. And I think that's what it's all about. Making better choices is what personal finance is all about, right?
Yeah. So basically, the mantra that you always talk about, whatever I've learned a little bit from you, is spend less than you earn and invest the difference in the index funds.
Damn, I said that. It's really well said. I can't believe I said that, but sure.
So do you think is it simple or is it profound?
Well, it's both. But the problem is that the simplest things are the hardest to do. So
Ask me about it.
So, spend less than you make, right? Any company, we look at us as individuals, but what if I were a company? What if I were an organization? What if I were running a small baniye ka dukan or a bakala shop, right? If I'm spending, my expenses are more than the money that I'm making, what happens a month from now or a year from now?
You'll exhaust.
I'll shut shop and I'm done. Business over. So the same thing is applicable to my life as well. And the contrary is true as well. If I'm making more money than I'm spending, my business can last for eternity. A going concern. That's what it's called.
Yeah,
right?
of course.
So it's a simple formula, and it's not. You don't have to be a PhD in mathematics to know that if the amount of money coming in is more than the amount of money going out, life is good. Majani life. But if you flip that script around, which is how majority of adults in today's day and age are living, paycheck to paycheck is what they call, we're going to struggle. So the mantra is actually very simple. Make more than you spend, or spend less than you make, and invest the difference. And both those statements, spend less than you make and invest the difference, are both equally important. Because if you do one and not the other, you're screwed. You can spend much less than you make and not invest and still be screwed. So you have to do both. You have to spend less than you make and you have to invest the difference.
Wow.
You have to invest the difference. If you're not, you're going to lose eventually.
So tell me something. I'm very interested now to know this. If a 25, I'm not 25, but if a 25-year-old comes in, walks in this room and is listening to us talking about this, and what would you say to him if he asks you a question? What are the pros and cons of, saving money in a fixed deposit, or putting up in a mutual fund, or a systematic investment plan like an SIP, or, working on avenues which are those high risk ones like a cryptocurrency, stuff like that? What would you guide that person? Suppose if it's just me, okay, at the age of 40, I want to start this now. Come on.
Yeah. So see, I know a little bit about you, so maybe I'll be able to tell you. But if a random 25-year-old comes to me, I just like to get to know his story. Why would I tell him about money? For what? Why would I bore him? Unless he asks me a pointed question, I still might not answer it. But as I said, personal finance is personal. The first half of that word is personal. So to each person, it's personal. So two 25-year-olds could have completely different notions of what money is. For me, at 25, I had zero savings. I made a lot of money at various stages, but for me, what was important was travel, was experiences, was spending money on fancy things, was traveling business class. That's what I wanted to do, so I did it. Was it right? Was it wrong? I don't know. But to each his own. So unless someone's I know someone's story, or there's no way I can guide or direct that
What
person.
would you recommend? Suppose if somebody comes and says,
Sure.
what is the safest? I'm just started to earn maybe 5,000 dirhams,
Right.
at the age of 25, because
Yeah.
that's what I see here.
Right.
People earning that average at the age of 25, 26, a 5,000 dirham or a 7,000 dirham.
Yeah.
And they come and say, okay, buddy, this is what my thing is.
Yeah.
Where do you think I should be able to kind of systematically save all of this? What do you suggest?
So the first thing is take, excuse me, no matter what stage of life you are at, initially at least, try and find a way to put away 10% of your money.
Okay.
That should be your basic rule. There was a phenomenal book called The Richest Man in Babylon. Why I say phenomenal? Because I think it's like 70 or 80 pages. I love these thin books. But phenomenal book which talks about the power of saving 10% of your income and how that can compound into some serious wealth.
Definitely.
So that's the first thing, that if you can, find a way to save 10% of your wealth and invest it. But at that age, if you're not earning too much money, I would actually say invest that money in yourself. Because the faster you can increase your income, so either you upskill, you do a side hustle, you find ways to do a podcast and make money. Today the gig economy is exploding. Find a way to follow your passion or do whatever it is to increase your income. Because if you stay at the lower end of the income bracket, then you won't be able to enjoy life, and you're not going to be able to invest a lot of money. So you might as well find ways in your earlier years to take that 5 to 10 or that 10 to 20 or that 20 to 40 so that you have more delta. Now you can actually invest more. You can
Correct.
live a better quality of life.
Very well said.
I realized that a lot of people on social media these days, I've heard them say that, start investing straight out of college. And while that's not terrible advice, it's okay for those, because someone is sitting at 30 listening to it and like, shit, yaar, maine nahi kiya. I didn't invest when I got out of college. It's too late. Oh my God, I'm 40. I've never invested.
Yeah.
Oh my God. It's never too late. At 30, you have far more life experiences. You're far more valuable to the marketplace than you were at 20.
Yes.
So at 40, you're far more experienced. You're far more valuable. You have far more disposable income. So you can catch up very quickly for the time that we've lost. So it's absolutely fine. No matter at what stage of life you are at, you're at the perfect stage to start, taking care of your wealth.
Agree. But also, I see, people are getting into these kind of trends of, I wouldn't say gambling as such, or punting in these high risk, volatile markets, and their behavior is becoming more like that. Let's get this $1,000. I've got it from my father. Let me just, put it here, there, all of this. Would you recommend any a sustainable wealth strategies to these people, or you think that, or do you support that kind of a behavior which is haywire and not taking you anywhere?
So while you were asking me this question, I was just trying to figure out, and 100 thoughts came into my mind. But let me ask you a question, right? Sorry about that. But if I kept a knife on this table, what would you say? Is it good? Is it bad?
I'm a chef, so it's definitely good for me.
It's definitely good, right? Because if I give a sharp knife to a chef,
yes,
phenomenal.
Amazing, of course.
If I give a sharp knife to someone who's not skilled on the street, it could cause major destruction, right? So financial markets, you said punt, you used the word gambling. Financial markets are like this sharp knife.
Wow.
It depends whose hand it is in.
Agree.
Right?
Beautifully said.
If you give it to someone who's studied, who's learned, who's got the right guidance, got the right direction, who's then you can make good use of it. But if you give it to someone who's brash, who's got this gambling mindset, who's looking to get rich quick, who's got all these wrong notions of making money, it could lead to catastrophe. So giving someone $1,000, it could be a nice experiment. You have 2 sons or 2 kids or 2 daughters. Give both of them $1,000 and see what they do. There are so many stories of these kings who would give their disciples money and see what they would do with it.
Yes.
So it's a fun experiment. But eventually, to sustainably build wealth or to build some serious wealth in life, there's no way. I don't think you can do it by gambling or punting. Because gambling and punting is for the race courses, for the casinos, and it's great fun. Do it with your play money or what they call your fuck you money or whatever you want to call it. You can do it with that money and it's fine. But you can't say, oh, I'm going to build a 10-year plan to become rich by going to casinos. It's not going to happen. Right?
Agree. Yeah.
I don't think it's
So
going to happen.
I'm trying to understand is that you're trying to say that, anybody who's coming in and really looking at to kind of make X amount of money and that kind of personal wealth
Yeah.
should definitely go back, read more about the company's progress, company's performances, what better they've been doing, what kind of structures they form, what is the future of those kind of industries, and then kind of look at putting their hard-earned money into it.
Sure, that's one way.
Yeah.
That's one way of doing it. I don't know how many people have the
Patience to do it.
patience to do it,
Yeah.
have the interest in reading balance sheets, have the knowledge to understand PE ratios or company
Yeah,
the ratio.
yeah,
I don't know.
absolutely.
And so then are you telling me that if I don't do all of that, I can't become wealthy? Absolutely not. I had zero understanding of any of this when I started. But I realized that I can buy something called an index fund, which is the combination of, let's say, 500 companies, the largest 500 companies, and I can put $100 into that fund. Simple. So what do I now have? I have access with $100. I have access to 500 of the largest companies in the world. It's the easiest way to invest, right? That's what I did, and that's how I started. Yes, after you start doing that a little bit, you say, oh, this company is doing well. Let me understand why NVIDIA is doing well. Oh, Microsoft is doing well or not as well. Let me find out why. Then I can delve a little bit more if that interests me. Or I can say, I just invest a few $1,000s every month into an index fund, and I don't care about what companies are doing. I don't care. I want to spend time with my kids. I want to spend time with my family. I want to take care of my parents. I want to travel the world. I want to focus on, brewing beer if that's my passion. I don't care about the financial markets, but I want to be wealthy. So I better invest. I better buy my assets. So whether it's your interest to study companies, great. If not, there are plenty of ways that you can build wealth anyway without knowing anything about the markets.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So let me just ask you, the other day I had a friend down and she wanted to go to Dubai Mall. And
Yeah.
I just accompanied her and we went to one of the stores and when she went at the cash counter, it was very funnily asked that you don't pay cash, card or crypto. And I was a little shocked. I was, because for me this is a very new line and I'm like, okay. So what do you have a take on that?
I think
Realistic?
absolutely.
Or just an
I think
opportunity?
it's inevitable. I don't know which store this is, but it's absolutely inevitable in my eyes that this is the future that we are heading towards. It's going to happen, and
Wow.
And if I could make an alteration to this, the three options given were cash, card, or crypto. So nobody pays cash anymore. Right, so cash, you can eliminate that 5 years from
But
today.
being in Dubai, I mean, this is such a cash.
Yeah, but so a lot of tourists, surely,
Yeah.
they convert their money and they come, sure. But eventually, I'm saying globally, the usage of cash, we saw what happened in India. We know what's happening globally. Living in Dubai, I haven't, the only time me and my wife struggle for cash is when we want to tip. Because, it's something that we enjoy
Yes,
doing, but we
agreed.
realize, shit, we don't have cash. So now we always have a bunch of tens sitting in the car, sitting in various areas around the house so that we can, do a little bit so that we feel good. Tipping, by the way, tipping is so that we feel good. It's not for the other person.
Of course,
It,
of
it
course.
makes me feel good. It's a very selfish endeavor. But yeah, so card and crypto or whatever, I think it's the future we're heading towards.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So, for example, if I have a certain amount of a portfolio, yeah, where do you think I can put, what percentage you think I should be putting out in the kind of cryptocurrencies?
Oh, that's a very dangerous question you asked me because I know that if I tell you what to do, it might
Come
be
on, I'm
construed.
coming to learn from you.
It might be construed as me giving you advice. I'm very biased based on my thoughts and my views, and I've said this many times in the past as well that when I started out, since you specifically are asking about crypto. During COVID, I started putting in a little bit of money in crypto purely because of FOMO. I was so intellectually lazy to pick up a book and read, figure out what Bitcoin is, what is this altcoin. I had no understanding, and I was intellectually lazy. Right, my fault, my bad. If I taken the effort, taken the interest 4-5 years ago, a different story altogether. But I can tell you for myself, I used to have 1% of my wealth till about 2 years back in crypto or in Bitcoin, only because I'm like, agar ye kahin gaya, if it goes, let's say people you hear all these crazy numbers. So if it goes there, at least I'll feel like I made some money. And if it goes to zero, which I thought it will, like, kya hai ye? What is this, right? Some internet money, magic internet money. It's going to zero anyway. It's not going to affect me, right? Over a period of time, and I think a lot of it is to do with social media, because the more I started creating content, the more people started questioning me and asking me, like, what do you think? What's your thought? What's your thought? I'm like, why are so many people asking me? Let me study. Let me do the research. And unfortunately, there's no shortcut to it. You have to do the research. And today, my only message is that, and today I've obviously increased my percentage allocation in my portfolio is far higher than 1%.
Nice.
But my only message to perhaps whoever's watching this, to your audience, is if Bitcoin or cryptocurrency were to be tomorrow's reality, would you take some time out of your life today to understand how it works, to understand what it is, to understand why it exists, to understand why there's so much chatter about it?
Right.
The only thing I would say is take 10 hours in the next 1 month. Make it your, I'm sure there are a lot of resolutions we've made which we've already broken in 2025. But if there's one thing we can do for ourselves, for our sake, not just for curiosity, but what if it is the reality of tomorrow?
100%.
Spend 10 hours to understand Bitcoin. Spend 10 hours to study cryptocurrencies. That's my only message. The rest, to each their own.
Yeah.
Because this, it could be zero. It could be zero a few years from now. But even if it is, understand it. See why it would be zero or why it would be somewhere else.
But crypto sometimes feels like, like a beast going around in the Wild West, just like whoosh,
So
do you think there is like a governing body or a framework around which takes care of all these things, or this is just like going here, there, everywhere and just...
So the beauty about it is that there is no governing body.
Wow.
That is the magic of, or that is one of the benefits of the cryptocurrency. So today, who determines what the interest rates in the market should be? Central banks. Who decides how much money can get printed? Central banks. Who decides what's the value of $1? Central banks. Right? Have they done a good job of it? I would beg to differ, because 100 years ago, you could buy 1 ounce of gold for $25.
Yeah.
So $25, I'll get 1 ounce of gold. Today, if I want that same ounce of gold, I have to give $2,500.
Yeah.
So 1 ounce of gold went from $25 to $2,500.
Yes.
So what does that mean? That the value of the dollar went from 2,500 to 25. That means the dollar has lost 99% of its value in 100 years.
Amazing.
So today, Bitcoin is potentially a monetary system that
It's a monetary system, yes.
that cannot be tampered with by central forces. So that's why it's called decentralized finance, DeFi.
Outstanding.
Yeah.
I am so intrigued about this conversation. I just feel like going on and on, asking more and more questions.
I have a lot of coffee left, so you can keep going.
So tell me, let's do a quick fun round with you.
Sure.
Since you're coming up with so much knowledge, I would love to know which is your best financial book have you ever read? And you would want to say that, guys, come on, pick this up. I know that, don't tell me that 70 page or that Babylon one. I don't want to know what it, but a really good book.
But that is a great book, The Richest Man in Babylon. But I think that every person who cares even a little bit about money should read Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Okay.
That is perhaps one book that every person has heard of. Most of them have on their bookshelf, but very small fraction of that has ever read it.
Yes.
Right. I'm sure there are people in this room also who have that book on their desk. Maybe you, maybe some people behind the camera
Not
somewhere,
yet.
but who have not read that book. And I think that is, I see hands going up, but that is a book which must be read. And I'm blessed that my dad gave me that book at the age of 17. Right. And
Wow.
I read it when I was leaving home, and when I moved to India, I read it on the flight. So it's a book that can be read on a 3-hour flight.
And
So
what's
it's
the
a
one
film.
financial habit one should start doing today? Like, okay, give me that one habit, what I should do. One financial
So again,
habit.
that one financial habit will depend on what stage of life you're at, right? Today,
For example, a viewer is
Yeah.
at 0 stage.
so at
Absolutely
zero,
starting.
I would say find a way to add as much value to the marketplace as you can. Provide as much value as you can. Stop worrying about money. Money is like sorry to be, gender biased, but
Oh, it's
as a
fine.
man,
Yeah.
money is like the hottest girl in college. Every boy is trying to run after her. Then no one's going to get her. Sit in the corner, play your guitar, create music. She will come to
She'll
you.
come to you.
Find a way to create as much value as you can in the marketplace. Money will come chasing.
Fabulous. That's the best answer I've heard in really, really long time.
Awesome.
Come on, guilty pleasure splurge. Don't tell me coffee.
No, coffee.
And traveling.
I'm completely against buying coffee. I don't spend money on $7 coffee. My guilty pleasure splurge is shoes.
Oh,
Yeah,
nice.
but I have very specific rules. So, but yeah, that's my one guilty pleasure.
Okay, so then index funds or real estate?
Tough one. I will say 50-50. I'll put 50% into index fund and 50% into real estate if those are the only two options you can.
Okay, guys, please do think about real estate as well.
No, absolutely. I'm a big believer in real estate.
Amazing. Any fund that you think outside in the world is overhyped?
Any fund?
Any investment fund?
I wouldn't say. I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't want to name any specific fund. All I can say is,
Or maybe a direction one should not think of.
No. So, should not think of. So again, at different stages of your life, when you're starting out, start as broad as you can. Right. The more you spend, the more time you spend with your investments, the more specific and the more niche and the more concentrated you can get. But when you start out, I would just say look at a broad index fund, which is what you should look at.
And any trend you think which one should follow? Like any trend you want to go and say that this is a trend that's going on for investments?
Yeah, as I told you a few minutes ago also, is just spend a little bit of your time in understanding Bitcoin.
Bitcoin.
That's my one thing I would say 2025. Spend a little bit of time understanding what Bitcoin is. Bitcoin started at 0.00994, right? That means for $1, you could buy 10,000 Bitcoins. Right? Today, one Bitcoin is $100,000. So, figure out, just try and understand why that happened. What's going on in the world. That's the biggest service you could do for yourself, for your next generation, and for the generations to follow. Because if you don't do it, you might miss out. And there's a story that I, always share with people that many centuries ago, when the French Renaissance was happening, that Renaissance was led by a few artisans, by a few painters, by a few writers, by a few, blacksmiths. The whole revolution, the whole Renaissance, which changed the world, was led by 1 or 2% of the people. The rest of Western Europe was living life as if nothing was happening. They lived their lives, they passed away, their kids lived there, they passed away. Many years later, many generations later, they found out that the Renaissance happened. Nobody knew it was happening or it was happening.
Yeah. Even if you just read about Rothschild's life, the whole family.
Absolutely.
And when you read about them, you will connect so many industries, so many thought processes, so many mindsets.
Yeah.
And how Rockefellers or Rothschilds really move forward and taken the whole world.
Yeah.
So they are, I think, the papas of big Bitcoin.
Absolutely. So and today we have perhaps that opportunity is perhaps sitting in front of us today.
100%.
Might as well spend some time.
I would love to.
Yeah.
I would definitely want to do this 10 hours thing in a month.
Absolutely.
And really read, because honestly, when I met you before as well, it's really taken me time to understand this, because it's such an important part. As I said in my initial comment when we started off talking to you, that we've been talking about finances from the time we are born. We're surrounded. Milk is bought, nappies are bought, clothes are bought. When a child is born, he or she's gifted money from the relatives and the family. Oh my God, it's all finance from top to bottom. Right. Even when you're dying, you need to pay for a coffin as well. Absolutely. So, as money is very important, definitely. So what's the next thing for Kartik Iyer? What are you looking at to be doing for this whole game that you're looking at to get into?
Yeah, so I think personally with my investments, I just I want to keep doing what I'm doing. It seems to be working out fairly nicely. But my big goal or my big vision is to really reach out to all the Kartiks, the 33-year-old Kartiks, and there are so many of them,
100%.
right?
But there are 40 years also.
No, what I meant was people who are at that stage of life where they didn't know much about investments. They didn't understand the concept of money. They didn't know things like inflation, how it's ruining generational wealth, just how easy it is to actually become wealthy. How do we take care of our finances? How getting a grip on your finances can take care of so many other things in life. How it can make you better at your job, how it can make you better at your relationships, how it can make you a better spouse, better parent, just by having your finances in place. And having your finances in place is clicking a few buttons. It's nothing more than that. It's just having that little bit of discipline. So if I can just pass this message out to as many people that need it, that's what I'm looking to do. So whether that's editing videos first thing in the morning, waking up half an hour early, sleeping half an hour late, it's fun. It's worth it because there are people who come back and I find out who actually benefited from it.
Yes.
And for me, that's the biggest high. And that's what I intend to do more of, especially in this year, and finding creative ways of reaching out
Yeah,
to
and
more people.
it's very important because there are so many people out there who are so active on social media.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
it's one of the mediums for people to kind of express, people to kind of learn, extend their knowledge, which is great. So, I mean, heartiest congratulations to you for launching this kind of page on social media and kind of igniting that thing in people's life as well, that how important it is to have your own personal finance taken care of by yourself. There are guides who are sitting outside,
Absolutely.
but still to read, to get back, to know the nitty-gritties. Not many people know how to read a balance sheet, but I love the idea of spending those 10 hours reading a particular book, 1 hour a day, and seeing that do you really want to do this?
Absolutely.
So thank you so much. It's been honestly, I wouldn't say that's just been a pleasure because that's always a closing line, but I would rather say that this has been very overwhelming for me, personally, because it's a very sideline topic, though I run a business and we deal into money on a daily basis, finances, so many things, payments come in and go, but to handle them in a right way is something which I have learned from you. And I am thankful and grateful for your time,
Thank you so
for
much for
coming
having me. It was
here.
super fun.
And I think most important was how nicely that you have with examples been able to explain to the people who are going to be watching this. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Shivani. It was great fun. Thank you for having me. And I hope a lot of people watch it so that
100%, for sure. We have to get this guy, Kartik Iyer.
Financial wingman.
Yes, financial wingman. Everyone to be watching, learning, and please executing. That's something which I believe in. Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you so much once again.
Thank you.